What's up, everyone? I'm Mike, and today I'm back with another MENT/general health update. It's a little bit of an echo in here because we moved the bed out. My mom is coming to stay with the kids for a few days while she handle some business in Dallas. So I apologize for that echo. I've got some blood work back. As I mentioned in my previous video, I have been absolutely loving the gains that I'm making on this cycle. Thankfully, because if not for the gains, I would have thrown this bottle of MENT in the trash a long time ago. It has just started to come with a whole host of negative side effects that are making it borderline not worth it, seeing as how I had gotten to 214 previously without it. Now, admittedly, I'm at 215.4 now, much harder, much leaner, much more vascular. So I'm definitely in a better physical position than I was before. And the strength gains and all of that, like, we're still in the very early going. I feel like the MENT is finally peaking in my system. And honestly, it's a lot to take. Like, right now, I just woke up. I've been arguing with BMW. They can't seem to find my fucking car that I've had on order for a while now. So I'm looking a little beat up. So I'm going to catch you up on the blood work in general, and then we'll go over what I think is going on next. So first of all, the good news is that you'll know if you've been following my channel for a period of time that I had drug-induced liver injury caused by Augmentin, and that I ended up being hospitalized with AST, ALT levels that peaked up into 1300, 1700. I forget how high it actually got on my AST. Thankfully, that did not permanently damage my liver, and those enzymes started crashing back to normal. So the first test that I pulled yesterday was a comprehensive metabolic panel, just to see what's going on in general, to see how well my liver has recovered, and to see if if my body was throwing off any other signs of issues, because I am running 319-NOR compounds, which are supposed to be really taxing on the system. I'm probably not going to put this all up on the screen because it's basically all perfectly normal. My glucose, everything is normal. One thing of note, I don't know how this happened. For the first time maybe ever since I started bodybuilding, my creatinine is in range. The creatinine range is 0.6 to 1.29. My creatinine, or creatinine, however you say that, it usually hangs out at the 1.43 range, which is slightly elevated and is very common amongst bodybuilders. I have been hitting it very hard in the gym 5 days a week. Honestly, yesterday I was pretty dehydrated. And yet my creatinine level came back in range at 1.22. So while that's not a perfect indication of kidney function, it's certainly not bad to see because it's usually elevated. So urea, nitrogen bond, EGFR, all those in the normal range. Everything in my comprehensive metabolic panel is normal, with the exception of those AST, ALT levels, which are still just slightly high. AST was 41 in a range of up to 40, so it's 1 point out of whack. Thankfully, my alkaline phosphatase is completely back to normal, which is one of the things that was really elevated when I had the liver injury. ALT is still high at 98, which is admittedly twice the top end of the reference range. Being that I've had it substantially higher than that, I'm not concerned about this at all. Obviously, these numbers are typically elevated to some degree, or can be typically elevated, and in bodybuilders. I don't know what would cause the ALT to be 98 unless it just hasn't come completely down from, it's possible that it's just still trending down from when I was ill. I'm not taking any 17 alpha alkylated orals. I have been using Proviron, but that's not supposed to have any hepatotoxicity at all. So I don't know what if anything is causing that slight elevation in ALT. Now, unfortunately, it usually takes 4 days, as I was mentioning in my previous video, for the E2 to come back, which is the one that I'm most excited about. I did, however, surprisingly get my prolactin level back last night, and it's crashed. My prolactin level came back as a less than 1.0 liter in a range of 2 to 18 nanograms per milliliter. My prolactin is completely into the toilet. That could explain some of the ED, low libido type issues that I'm having. I was honestly very surprised to see this number because I have always felt like I had a good handle on being able to track my prolactin by feel. Admittedly, I have a new compound in the mix, and I have been hitting the Caber dose pretty hard in the last 3 days because I was hoping that my D-game problem was actually being caused by like maybe it was Deca-D. And so I started taking Caber at 1/4 milligram a day. I did that 3 days in a row and then went and got my bloods pulled yesterday. So typically what happens to me if I start to knock my prolactin down is that my refractory period starts to become next to nothing. I've had a refractory period where I could literally finish one act and immediately start the next and never lose any kind of functionality. Typically though, however, the negative, because that sounds like, hey, I want that all the time, right? Typically when that's going on though, you lose orgasm quality. It can suffer quite a bit. It's like you can go and go and go, but it's not really satisfying. And that's the problem, is that you want to go and go again because you never sort of get your fix, for lack of a better term. That is usually a telltale sign that my prolactin is low. I did experience a week 0 one time, and then like I said, I was just eating so much cabergoline that maybe I just blasted right past it and didn't notice it because I was so desperate for this to be anything other, be something explicable. Obviously, I don't have a problem with if the problem ends up being high estrogen, that's totally cool. I mean, then I have a solution. You know, we'll knock it back down and everything will be great again. The problem is that I just don't have any of the usual symptoms from high estrogen. But then again, I didn't really notice the typical symptoms from low prolactin either. So I don't know if one of or all of these compounds are masking the usual sort of feel monitors that I have to indicate when I've got something going wrong. So who knows? Maybe we're going to find out that my estradiol is through the roof. I did a bunch of research on my channel last night because I started spiraling. I started freaking out and going to the toilet. I started worrying about maybe the reason that, I think I mentioned this in my previous video, that maybe I damaged my liver again, and that's why I had poor appetite. What if something else is in my MENT bottle? You know, just kind of a downward spiral freak out. And so what I did is I went back over the course of my channel to the time, I've made several videos when I had documented high E2. One of those times, I had tried to run 750 milligrams a test, and I had started the cycle with MPP and didn't know how to properly dose my AI, and I thought like I would be able to catch it on the rise, and I didn't. And my AST, I started vomiting is what happened. I made a video, I'll link it at the end of this actually for you, so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. You'll also see how big I was 3 years ago, since we had some haters in the Discord saying that I haven't made any gains anywhere on my entire body in the last 3 years except for my face. That's what this guy was saying. He was like, I don't know what you've been doing for the last 3 years, bro, but all you do is grow your face. You haven't grown your body at all. Well, 3 years ago, I weighed 180 pounds, I think, in that video. I weigh 215 and a half today. So, do the math. But haters gonna hate. What can you do? So in that video, I describe in detail how with high estrogen, I had raging libido. My joints had never felt better. There was a number, I won't spoil the whole video, but basically none of the symptoms that I'm having, and then I started the vomiting. So in that video, when I went to get my E2 checked, which will be really interesting to compare to this one, my estrogen came back as 179 in a range of up to 49, I think, 40 something. So it was multifold the top end of the reference range, and it had resulted in like a morning sickness. Every morning when I woke up, immediately I would start vomiting. And so really weird set of circumstances. So usually when my E2 is super high, I have that occur. I have bloating, moon face. In the video, I reported that I had massive gyno. That's where it started, with gyno. And so all of the stereotypical symptoms of having high E, I am not experiencing at all. And since the only problem that I have been having is D related, and now we have low prolactin, it's possible that that's the cause. What that still does not tell us is why I have low E2. It still doesn't tell, or maybe I don't have low E2, but it certainly doesn't tell us why I'm getting away with not taking any Arimidex, and I don't seem to be carrying any symptoms of it. In the previous video, when I mentioned that my estrogen had gone high, one of the first signs that I was like, something's a little weird here, is I gained 6 pounds of weight in the first week of my cycle. So one of the videos that I did titled, I think my T-ball is D-ball, was another time when I sent my E2 through the roof. I had sourced, I had purchased what I thought was T-ball, and ended up being D-ball. And so it's funny because that video is very contentious. I left it up and I put a note on the video that says, hey, if you're watching this video, my description is actually a D-ball, not T-ball. Some guys like, you need to take this shit down. This is confusing. Whatever. So that video has like a shit ton of views on it, on the what does T-ball feel like? And it was weird because I'm reporting on what I think is T-ball. There's a whole bunch of dudes who jumped into the comment section. They're like, I don't know, man. This doesn't sound like any T-ball I've ever had. This shit sounds like D-ball. And then 4 days later, I had massive gyno and I was vomiting at will. And that's when I found out. So typically speaking, when I get high estrogen, there's a whole list of symptoms, and broke D is not usually ever one of them. That's the thing. Certainly not broke D and no libido, no interest at all. Generally, when my E2 is low, it's high, it's the polar opposite. But is it possible that the low prolactin is somehow masking the signs of the high E2? Who knows? That's the thing with these female hormones, and why I wish that I didn't need them at all. Because, if your prolactin is too high, it causes D-game problems. If your prolactin is too low, it causes libido and D-game problems. If your estrogen is too high, it causes problems. If your estrogen is too low, it causes problems. This is, again, why I keep saying to you guys who are always trying to get me to try new compounds, I'm like, no, I don't want to take anything. I'm staying on 500 milligrams a test, and I'd rather just add a bunch of 19 NORs and at a maximum, and DHT derivatives and stuff that's not going to massively cause variation in my E2 management, because it's a nightmare every time I have to do this. I fully expected that when I started the MENT, I would start getting signs of high E2, and then I would just slowly increase my dosage until I found the sweet spot. So unless it just spiked so fast that I couldn't catch it and then still have no symptoms of it, I don't know what's going on, because I certainly didn't experience the rapid weight gain that would be typical of high E2, when I would put on a bunch of water weight. I didn't experience the raging libido. I didn't experience the great feeling joints. In fact, my joints have been more scratchy than before. These are all signs of low estrogen. So again, all we can do in this video is speculate about the estrogen, because it's probably still going to take 3 more days to find out. But I want to at least put this video out for multiple purposes. For one, to be transparent about where my prolactin is. I mentioned in the last video that I was taking a 1/4 milligram a day for the last 4 days in a row. So there's a milligram over a 4-day period. Usually I had felt like I was dialed in before I started the MENT at about 1.25 milligrams a week. I was fully operational at about 1.25 milligrams. And so then I panicked and I thought, well, I did bump up my DECA by 100, and I've got this MENT in the system, and so maybe it's very progestogenic and it's creating prolactin. And so I started jacking up my cabergoline dose, trying to offset it, and that wasn't the problem apparently, because I crashed it. So the very unfortunate thing about what I've done here is I'm not going to get any relief for days probably. Cabergoline is a very long-acting drug. I'm hoping my Tren A will be here very soon, and I might jab a bunch of that and try to shoot my prolactin back up so that I can get back to physiological level. I don't know if I'll do that or not, but that's sort of where I sit right now. My prolactin is crashed in the toilet. Everything else on my comprehensive metabolic panel is good. Psychologically, I still feel great. That's the thing. Like during this part of my day right now, I definitely feel the heaviness of the MENT. I wake up and I feel pretty clear-headed. I feel pretty good. I don't feel agitated or irritable. I pin the MENT shot, and within about an hour, I start feeling really kind of agitated. It's gotten to the point now that the dose is rising in my system, that it's certainly not as good of a feeling as it used to be. It's worse on days where I'm not going to the gym to sort of exercise the demons. And because I've been dealing with car issues and court issues and a lot of other things, I've got a lot of other things that are kind of bringing my mood down. And so it's very possible that having being in sort of a bad mood alongside something that's kind of amping you up is probably a bad combination. I think if I was upbeat, like if I was on my way to pick up my car right now and I was in a really high state of emotional excitement, plus the MENT, I would probably be reporting that I was having the greatest day of my life. So I think it's just the MENT is sort of acts as an amplifier. And so when you wake up and you're dealing with idiots that can't seem to do the most basic housekeeping tasks at all as far as managing their inventory, it makes you then the MENT on top of that is just an extra adjutant. And then again with all of the other bullshit, I think if things were otherwise going good, I might feel very differently. I experienced a tremendous amount of lethargy yesterday, but like I said, I did not sleep well. My sleep has been kind of strange. Like I'm having almost the opposite sleep problems that I usually have once I get my trend dose up around 100. At the 100 milligram mark is when I start to usually have problems getting to sleep. I'm actually getting to sleep very, very easily, but I'm waking up too early. I'm waking up on like 7 hours of sleep and finding it very hard to go back to sleep. In the morning, my brain just spins up, and I tried multiple times this morning to stay in bed. Finally just got up and pinned my MENT shot and going about my day. So that's where we stand again today. The only real news is that my prolactin has crashed. It is going to take some number of days for that to unfuck itself, because I'm going to stop the cabergoline immediately, and I don't know how many days to wait. I mean, I think it's got a long half-life. So depending on how I don't know where the sweet spot is for me. I want to say that I like to keep my prolactin on the very low end of normal. I think I have some tests showing that it was around like 2.4 or 4 or 5, somewhere on the low end of normal, definitively. So it could be that I stay very low and maybe just one extra dose knocked it down. I don't know. I can't know how long it's been low. Obviously, the E2 result will help us to better put both sides of the equation together. I took no Arimidex yesterday, and I still do not have any swollen lumps. I still do not have any itching. I still do not have any sensitivity. Again, no bloat, no vomiting this morning, no crying, no excessive emotionality, just nothing consistent with high E2. I'm experiencing none of these effects right now. So I don't know what's going on. All we can do is wait. But I wanted to be transparent with you guys. In case I happen to be an outlier, there will be a historical record of everything that was going on. I'm still, I was up to 215 last night, so my weight is holding strong. I did not eat for shit yesterday. My calories were all very backloaded. I woke up again this morning. I have not eaten. I do not have an appetite. I guess despite my desire not to do it, I'm going to have to cycle off the MK for a little while and maybe just cram some GHRP6 into my system every time I know I need to eat. I don't know what to do about that. It's a lot of BS right now, man. Maybe I finally reached the end of how long you can permablast. I just don't know. There's so many things going on, and I don't really want to make too many. I don't want to jump to too many conclusions. You know, like it could just be that my prolactin comes back to normal, and bang, I feel like $1,000,000 again, and everything's on fire, and I'm back to reporting that I'm having savage workouts, and my joints feel amazing, and my mood is amazing, and my sex life is amazing. And it could just be that I've got this one parameter that we know, you should never crash your hormones. Anytime you do, there's problems. And so it's certainly realistic that is the whole thing. We just have to figure out where the E2 is to confirm that that's not another causal factor, and that, whether it's high, low, or in between. So there you have it. Thank you for watching this video. Thank you for everyone who continues to follow me on the various platforms. There's now 3 or 4 of you on the other site, and you guys are getting that content about 20 hours before everybody else. I really appreciate your support over there. I think it's a great platform. But what my hope is that this will all eventually, they'll stop this process and I can start getting my videos up live. So it is currently 11:43 in the AM on June 25th. That's when I'm recording this video. So that'll give you an idea of how long it takes for approval, depending on when you see it on YouTube, if that's your chosen platform. So there you have it. As always, thank you for watching. We'll see you on the next one.